After 10 years in the making, Domaine Baron de Rothschild, famous for the producers of Château Lafite in Bordeaux, is now producing a Chinese wine. In today's episode, we'll be diving into the story of Domaine de Londaille, the winemaking style and influence that the DBR Lafite team has on making fine wine in China. Hi everybody, I'm Emily Steckenborn, founder and host of Asia's leading drink and food podcast, Bottled in China. This is the podcast that dives into the delicious and fascinating world of food and beverage. We cover innovation, market trends, and culture with thought leaders from around the world. Part of the DBR Lafite portfolio, Domaine de Londaille is nestled at the heart of the Tiaoshan Valley in the Shandong province in China. The wine is a reference to the family's Bordeaux winemaking heritage, sourcing their Cabernet Sauvignon, Marselan, and Cabernet Franc grapes from their 30-hectare estate. This is actually our second part of our podcast. The first one, we dived into winemaking in Shandong province. So if you want to learn more about that region, you'll want to go check it out. But if you want to learn more about the story of Domaine de Londaille, then this is the episode for you. And here to join us is Denise Constantino. She's the technical manager at Domaine de Londaille. In 2014, Denise arrived in China where she worked as a winemaker and consultant at several wineries, as well as serving as a lecturer at local universities. She was previously the winemaker for Chateau Nine Peaks in China. Well guys, let's dive into this delicious episode. And before we do so, don't forget to follow me on Instagram where you can connect with me directly at Bottled in China. And if you love this podcast, share it with a friend and click 5 stars on iTunes to show your support. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bottled in China. Today I'm very excited because we are now on part 2 of our episode regarding Shandong wines, Denise, her experience in China making wine, and also now we're going to be talking about the story of Domaine Londaille. So Denise, welcome back to part 2 of Bottled in China podcast.
Hi Emily, I'm glad to be back.
Now, I think the first part of the podcast really taught us a bit about what's the big difference between the areas of Shandong, Ningxia, viticulture issues you guys might have, also about the style of wine being produced. And I'm excited to talk about the style of wine you guys produce here at Domaine Londaille. So first off, can you share with us and the listeners a bit about the story of the winery?
All right. So the story about Domaine de Londaille began about 15 years ago. The Lafite family always been very keen to diversify and expand their know-how in regions of the world with a very high winemaking potential. So after the acquisition of Viñas Los Vascos in Chile in the late 80s, followed by Bodegas Caro in Mendoza in Argentina, and the Chateau Sierre in the Languedoc in the late 90s, they decided to come and invest in China. At the very beginning, they got in touch with Gerard Collin, a very well-known wine consultant who had a long-time experience in China, who advised them about the Shandong region, where climate and soil allow the use of a train-age production system as in Bordeaux. In addition, Mr. Collin knew beforehand a very favorable area where the topography made it possible to plant vines on hillsides with superficial soils to cope with the climate of Shandong. So numerous working was carried out first by Gerard Collin, then by our currently technical director, Olivier Tregoat, in order to find and define the zone with the best wine potential and to describe its pedoclimatic characteristics. So over 400 soil pits were dug to identify the best location to plant vines. So the Domaine de Londaille was the 2019, creating a vineyard from scratch in the valley of the Jiaoshan. The first plantation took place in 2011, and the vineyard today covers a total area of about 30 hectares, 24 of which are in production. And the goal is to not go beyond 60 hectares.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Actually, Denise, I don't think you know this, but I went to go visit Domaine de Londaille, I want to say in 2012 or 2013, when they weren't even harvesting. I mean, the vines were just newly planted. It wasn't even, I think construction wasn't even finished. And it's really exciting because your first vintage, it was in 2019, right? Or when is the first vintage?
So first vintage that we released was the 2017. Actually, the first harvest was made in 2015. But we just decided to release the first bottle of wine starting from the vintage 2017.
Right. And it's exciting to see it evolve over that time. And I've heard some really exciting reviews. As you mentioned before, some vintage variation really is quite strong because of the region and climate. So I'm quite excited to dive into that. But, for our listeners, what are the varietals that you guys plant at Domaine de Londaille? Are you guys trying to copy the style from Lafite back home and only doing Bordeaux blends? Or are you guys experimenting with various things, Cabernet Franc, Marselan, etc.?
Yeah, so actually 79% of our vineyard is made by three main varieties. First, most planted variety is Cabernet Sauvignon. Second is Marselan. And the third variety is Cabernet Franc. Those three varieties are really well adapted to our terroir. And we also have a bit of a Petit Verdot, a bit of Syrah, a bit of Merlot, but we are definitely on these three main varieties, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Marselan, that are those that make up our Londaille blend.
And we're going to talk about the Londaille blend in just a bit. But before that, how would you describe a blind tasting at Domaine de Londaille with your wines compared to other Shandong wine producers? Like, is there a style that you always kind of find whenever you taste your wines, or where does it sit in comparison of quality? In my view, you guys are definitely one of the top producers in Shandong region, but in your view, where does it sit so our listeners have a better idea of that?
Okay, to answer your question, let me explain you what makes our wine so unique. So the vineyard of Londaille is implanted on a granitic subsoil with mainly sandy clay soil in a very hilly landscape. So the 30 hectares of vineyard are divided into 56 plots. Each plot is itself composed by numerous terraces, which makes the singularity of our vineyards, and which counts more than 400 different small plots, different terraces, with its own set of pedoclimatic characteristics. So these more than 400 terraces, each requires specific care because of the difference in terms of terroir and how those differences influence the development of the vines. So we must adapt our actions throughout the growing season, as well as to decide the optimal harvest date so that the grapes can reach their perfect maturity. So be a blend of all of these origins, different type of grapes, different type of soil, different type of terraces, different plots. Our wines reflects the distinctive qualities of each of these terraces, and so its complexity. So it's a definitely unique wine. I would say that it's what we could call a really wine of terroir. So making the comparison with other wine, it's quite hard because it's so unique. But the result is a wine of a great finesse, showing a nice amplitude on the palate with a very elegant tannins, as in the spirit of the Lafite family.
Mm-hmm. Actually, one question that just came to mind as we speak about that. If you did do a blind tasting, of course, against Domaine de Londaille and let's say the top Lafite that you guys have out in Bordeaux, how does that differ? What are the similarities and how does it differ?
The similarity is definitely the style. As I say, the aim is not to make a very bold wine. What we are looking for is to have a wine that is an elegant wine that is showing just this kind of finesse where tannins are very smooth. So the aim is not to make a big wine. So it's definitely a similarity that we are sharing with the style of the other wineries in Bordeaux and the other wine that we are producing in France. The difference is that of course the Londaille is the results of Joshan, this terroir. So it's the combination and the results of that vintage, of that climate, of that terroir, of that people. So it's definitely not the same wine that we are producing in Bordeaux, because it's the result of this place. So, and actually the aim is not to make a Bordeaux or a French wine in China, but the aim is to make a Chinese wine in China with its own characteristic, with its own style, and make a great wine for Chinese consumers.
No, definitely really excited. And it's really interesting to kind of see that perspective, to kind of reflect only, let's say China. And I think you guys did it quite well when you also went to Chile and really just reflected Chile, so kind of sense of place. One of the things actually that is not Bordeaux at all, well, now it is actually, but Marcelin. We've had podcasts about Marcelin before with Julien Boulard, Master of Wine based here in China. Lots of conversation with the wine trade. A lot of people love the grape. A lot of people hate the grape. Some people believe that it's the future grape of China. Others believe it should not be planted in China. What is your take on Marcelin in China? And most importantly, how does it contribute to the taste of the wines? Because you guys are blending it and using that as a key blend factor. Tell me a bit about that.
Yes, Marcelin was actually among the first kind of grape varieties we had planted back on 2011. As you know, it's a crossing between Grenache and Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's originally from Languedoc, from south of France. So it's a variety which ripens comparatively late with a good resistance to fungal disease, so which makes it a very well adapted, a very interesting variety to the condition of the Shandong region. So in Londai, adding Marcelin to the blends brings definitely a bit of spicy, a bit of violet notes to the wines, and definitely adds a deeper color to the wines.
Now, a lot of people have said that Marcelin somehow does better in China because it has thicker skins and it's more resistant to heat and it's less prone to disease. Have you seen that in the vineyard as well?
Yeah, definitely. That's why we're still planting Marcelin. In Londai, as I said before, we are now at 30 hectares. The aim is to reach the 50 hectares in the next year. So every year we do a bit of plantation. So we are now preparing for the plantation 2021. We definitely gonna plant more Marcelin. Because for us, as you say, it has a thick skin, so it can have a good resistance to the disease. So it ripes very late into the season. So actually, when the rains comes, it's not yet at the horizon, so it could better resist to the monsoon. And we are definitely glad with the results that we are having with the Marcelin. I would say that we will never take the place of Cabernet Sauvignon. That's how we say impossible, because it doesn't have actually the same structure that the Cabernet Sauvignon can bring to the blend. So for us, it's going to be definitely, for a long time, it's going to be a good variety to use as a blend variety, to add this more color, to add this more flower notes, more this spicy, but definitely we should and we will keep the Cabernet Sauvignon as a main varieties of our vineyard.
Well, interesting that you say that, because I did try a Marcelin that I was quite impressed with. And actually, it was made with a small amount, and I forgot how much, of a little bit of carbonic maceration, a little bit of that stems to add more profile to, and I guess texture on the palate. So interesting that you say that. I've seen some good examples and hit and miss, but interesting to know that you see it mostly as a blending and not as a single varietal wine that you guys would create. At the moment, at least. So very interesting to note that. Now, something that I saw on your website that I thought was quite interesting is discussing a bit about collaborations with nearby villages. And that's the village of, I hope I said it right, Mulangu. And so you guys mentioned that actually the contribution is very important, and that actually combines with the know-how of the DBR team. Can you share with me a little bit about the impact of culture around where you guys are located, and what expertise that the farmers from Mulangu have actually brought to the vineyard?
Yeah, indeed. Their contribution has been, and it's very important for the development of our project. We currently have 11 of those farmers who have joined our team as a permanent workers. And we are seeking for temporary workers, not only in the Mulangu village, but also in the other small villages surrounding the estates. So those farmers have a long and strong fruit growing tradition, being this part of Shandong highly dedicated to the cultivation of different kinds of fruits, actually, such as apple, you can find cherries, peach. So those farmers have already a certain level of sensitivity and know-how, which make easier for them to understand well viticulture and be able to perform all the different tasks, all the different operations in the vineyards with the greatest precision and care. And so this is very important because actually to find a very specialized, very technical labor people in China is not so easy, especially for viticulture, especially in vineyards.
No, definitely. And listen, Denise, if you need any help, I am here to help you guys out, do some small things like harvest. So let us know. I'm sure a lot of our listeners,
welcome.
Right. A lot of our listeners, I'm sure, who are even studying for MW or just interested in learning more about Chinese wines, probably are like me, looking to learn more about that with you. So if you need free labor, guys, message Denise. I'm sure she'll be happy.
Yeah, you are definitely welcome. What we could offer you is a place in the Mulango village that is actually a very nice village, like about less than 1 kilometer from the winery. So people are very welcoming people. So yeah, welcome to Londai.
Perfect. We would love that. Now, of course, one of my questions, I think a lot of people have had this question as we speak. This is part of course, the DBR family, right? Including Lafite as one of the brands. What influence have they had on the winemaking? Did you have to fly over to Bordeaux to go study a bit or understand the style? Did they come over every year to come monitor the wine quality? How are they impacting? And for example, when you were at Chateau Nine Peaks, I believe, before, how have you even changed your winemaking to influence and reflect more of the DBR team's style?
Yeah, as you said, we are a group. The DBR group is composed by 9 wineries. Among these, 7 of the wineries are located in France. So we have the chance actually to have a long experience on our shoulder to draw lessons from. So this is actually a great advantage for us. Actually, we have a daily exchange with the technical team in France, and especially with our technical director, Olivier Trégoas. And unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, it's been 1 year that he was not able to come and to visit us. But the exchange is really on the daily basis. And, the wine is made according to the tradition of Bordeaux method, which means fermentation, for example, is start immediately. And we do carry out a very gentle pump over to ensure a gentle extraction of the tannins. But of course, winemaking must be adapted to our context and to the vintage too. So in Londai, at each harvest, all the different terraces we have are separated according to their grape potentials, according to their grapes quality, and is usually resulting in having 3 different kind of profiles. So vinification is made separately, and is then based on these different profiles and not just in the terrace location, because different terraces can have different soil profiles, giving different grape potentials, so a different kind of wines. And after malolactic fermentation, the wines is blended before aging partly in barrels. And it is kind of a quite common method that we're using on the groups. And most of the barrels are coming from our own cooperage in Pauillac, which allow us to really experiment with the different type of woods and find the best combination for aging our wines. So we definitely have an influence from the DBR teams, but everything is then adapt to the context, adapt to the year, to the condition of the year, to the quality of the grapes. The aim is definitely the same. The goal is to reach the greatest quality we could reach and make from that grapes the greatest wine we could ever made.
Mm-hmm. No, very exciting. Now, of course, another question that I think we all need to ask you is, of course, where are your wines available out of China? You guys, as you mentioned, first vintage was in 2017, so still relatively new. Are we seeing this a lot in France? Because, of course, the DBR family has really great distribution out there, or is it only in China?
So actually, so far, we released 2 vintage, the Londai 2017 and Londai 2018. We are going to soon release the Londai 2019. And only the Londai wine is available outside China. And for the moment, it's not available in France. It's available in the USA, Canada, Hong Kong, and Singapore. We also make a second wine that is called Hu Yue. The first vintage was made in 2018, and this wine is only available at our own shop. We have a boutique shop at the winery. So I will invite all your listening to come to visit us and have a taste of our wine, and why not to maybe buy a bottle, bring a bottle home.
100%. Well, I think people are very excited. I know in China, a lot of people are excited about tasting the wines. Can I just ask why it's not available within China? So if I'm correct, you said it's available in Hong Kong, Singapore, Canada, and US. Why is it not available in China?
No, it is available in China.
Okay.
It's definitely available in China. Actually, about 80% of our Londai wine production is distributed by the Pernod Ricard Group.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And because for a moment I was thinking that too, I thought, doesn't Pinot Ricard represent you guys? But good to know that actually it is here in China. I'm going to put the links if you guys are in China, want to try it out. And we're also going to get the links for the countries that Denise just mentioned. So if you are interested in tasting, wines from China that are really well made by Denise and her team and everybody there, go try it out. Test it out and let us know what you think about it. And Denise, this has been absolutely fantastic to speak with you. I'm a big fan of yours. How can we follow your journey? Because I love your Instagram. I love what you do. Can you tell us about how we can connect with you further?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sharing a lot of pictures in Instagram. I really like to share pictures of vineyards and wineries and the different operations I carry out during the day. So yeah, my Instagram account is Dana Wine Travel. So we might share with you, and we'll be very glad to have you follow me and to share my journey with you and with your listener. So I'm waiting for you now, Emily.
Well, one day I will make sure to come visit you. I was supposed to go actually next month to do a quick wine tour, but I'm going to see if I'll still be able to do that. Nonetheless, I will make sure to come see you very soon because I do want to go taste the wines, learn more about Shandong wines, and most importantly, share them all with all of our listeners. I've been to Ningxia quite often, at least 3 times in the last month. So I'd love to come see you guys and pay a visit. Denise, this has been absolutely fantastic. Everybody listening, I'm going to put all the information in the show notes so you can go try the wine and also connect with Denise on Instagram. Go follow her journey. Go learn about Chinese wines, be open-minded, and let's see this unveil itself and reveal itself throughout the year. So thank you, Denise, for being an excellent guest.
Thank you, Emily.
And representing women in wine. Look at that. Unbelievable story here in China, a true China success story. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
See you.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you love this podcast, make sure to share it with a friend or click 5 stars on iTunes to show your support.